Okay, so Nation of Millions comes out,
Yes,
and
sir.
that was like the smash album.
Yeah.
Don't Believe the Hype, was that the first single?
Yes, Don't Believe the Hype was the first single, and that story is well told because we actually made Don't Believe the Hype the summer before. For really at the edge of summer, we had to come up with a song for Less Than Zero.
Oh, the soundtrack, the movie. Yeah.
But we canned it. We thought it was too slow.
Okay.
Because we're coming out with, Rebel Without a Pause shifted the beats per minute. I mean, it raised the beats per minute with an aggressive sound that took it from here to there. So we said, listen, there were all kinds of incredible hip hop artists out there. We knew that, and one thing I learned doing Bum Rush's show and being on tour, that first year, our teachers is Dougie Fresh and Houdini, Ecstasy from Houdini, our master teachers, right? The only way that we would establish a foothold is that our music has to really be different. So we pitched our speed up. I mean, it was like make faster songs because you have an inclination when you get on stage, the crowd's pumped up anyway. So you really kind of have that forward lean in your performance. You perform faster, you talk faster, everything is quick. So that forward lean was really the key that we said we got to even make nations. So when we did Don't Believe the Hype on September of 1987, coming off the tail end of the Def Jam tour, or in the middle or somewhere, it just seemed too slow. And we just like, so we canned it, right? We did Bring the Noise. Now, Bring the Noise was because I tried to write Bring the Noise all summer long, and we shared a bus with Daddy-O and Stetson Sonic. I mean, 13 people on the same tour bus on the Def Jam tour, right? So out of that bus, Vlad, comes what? Takes a Nation, right? In Full Gear by Stetson Sonic, an album that's just as good, right? Pound for pound. And what? You got Prince Paul.
De La Soul.
3 feet,
3 feet
high
high
and rising.
Yeah.
We're hearing all these tapes on the bus, bro.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, because Prince Paul was in Stetson Sonic. Okay, right. Yeah. Now I remember.
So we're all forming those albums while we're on bus. And I'm trying to figure out, like, how the hell do I handle this track for Bring the Noise? And we're dealing with 109 beats per minute. And I'm like trying to write to it. And then finally later on when we made it, that's why it sounds like 3, because we took 3 tracks and did put it all together. And then wrapped 3 different styles on the same track. So then we put that on Less Than Zero. And it was so unorthodox at the time. I remember Harry Allen came down to Atlanta, was playing a show in Atlanta. He came down and said, I got the cassette tape from Hank. And I put Bring the Noise in the cassette deck. And I was so disturbed by the unorthodox manner of the record, I threw it across the room. And me, I'm the guy that does Public Enemy #1, which is unorthodox as hell. And I thought Bring the Noise was like, because it was so, and so fast forward to Don't Believe the Hype, it's like, we canned it. Less Than Zero is Bring the Noise, and it took the speed up to 109. So we was like, faster the better, right? 88 comes around, we finished playing the Def Jam tour. I have that tape that I interspersed between Takes a Nation parts with the crowd from London to show that although we ain't hitting the United States, we already got a market. That's why when people talk about international hip hop, the minute you play it, the first second you play It Takes a Nation, it ain't in the United States. It's Welcome London.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
That's how it was. Imagine being there, bro. So anyway, one day, me and Hank are going somewhere and he hears DMC. And DMC has the Bronco with the biggest sound system in life. And he's playing a record that's shaking the street. And it was like, what is that? It sounds like the shit we did. It was Don't Believe the Hype. And that's when we said, oh, that sounds like the first single.
That's the single.
And back then, leaks, you do something in the studio, you'd be like, I don't know how they got the tape. It's like Tim Westwood over in the UK. You just get out of the studio, all of a sudden you find out that Westwood, you got the tapes, and Westwood already got his the top 5.
Right. It's already playing.
It's
in
like,
London.
what the fuck? It's like, how the hell did he get that?
Yeah. Shout out to Tim Westwood.
And also, let me tell you this. This is not a bragging point, it's just fact, but just to try to realign people to fact. I've been the most interviewed rapper ever of all time.
I believe
Well,
it.
not just the longevity over 30 years, but by default, what's falling in my lap, there were three situations. A, Public Enemy, which is enough of its thing. Hip hop as a spokesperson for many years. And then the social political thing, which a lot of people say, I ain't good with that. And that's the area that can drag you into a cave.
Like, for example, I interview Lord Jamar on a regular basis.
He's the king. That's another good guy you got chemistry with.
Oh yeah, that's my man.
And you know, the tough questions that I can't answer, then you hit up
Hit him
Lord
up.
Jamar.
Well, he said point blank that Nation of Millions is his favorite hip hop album of all time.
And for me, Public Enemy is probably my favorite group of all time. With my favorite album of all time, hip hop album, which is takes a nation of millions to hold us back. To me, that's the greatest hip hop album ever produced, ever.
Hold on, let me ask you a question. Would you say that's the greatest album ever made in your eyes?
Who?
Would you put Nation of Millions over Off the Wall?
Yes.
And this is someone who's heard pretty much every hip hop song that's come out since the beginning.
Yeah.
Just such a monumental album. Absolutely classic from beginning to end.
Was a full team effort. It's like the Pistons, man.
Yeah. I mean,
It's like no one person could come out of that and said, I did it.
That was
you
me.
know?
Yeah. No, I
so
feel
it's a team. The team effort you can never beat. That's why I say move as a team, never move alone. I think the thing that made hip hop kind of change after the 90s, that took it into a different place, that I didn't like so much, but it's, you know, you can't stop evolution either, is that when hip hop turned into the one-man producer game.
Yeah.
And then also when hip hop also was the one-man solo rapper thing too.
Right, yeah. Groups, you just don't see them anymore. Rarely. Like Migos is considered an anomaly these days. Mostly it's one rapper now. There's no groups, and the producer's usually one guy who hires other people to ghost produce for him. You don't see production teams anymore. You don't see rap groups anymore. No. And, you know, technology kind of changed that, because if you look at before hip hop, if you wanted to make a song, you'd have to get a group of guys together. You know, this guy plays the drums, this guy's on the bass, this guy's on the guitar.
Well, even when we made early Public Enemy records and you had before automation, it would be like 5 or 6 of us on a board with sliding
all real
bass.
time. Yeah,
in real time. So that was beautiful. I mean, but also it's technology makes it beautiful. I think that its drop-off factors come in the area of live performances where you have to be superbly skilled, like a Jay-Z, to have everybody in a place focus on one dude.
Yeah.
But also a guy like DMX, I remember seeing the Hard Knock Life tour in '98 and seeing DMX on stage, and all he had was a bucket of water and a chain around his neck. And Jay-Z had to come on after that every night. That will make you better. That will make you better. See, anybody that wants to get in this game and think that they could come in the game and be Teflon, you ain't gonna stand the test of time, because this ain't a perfect thing. This is like boxing, man. You become better getting your ass waxed. And that's how I think Jay-Z that year as a performer realized, like, I have a problem here. Then with this guy, DMX was coming with a bucket of water and a chain around it, and it made him better. And I'm pretty sure if Jay has to look back to those days, he sharpened his knives harder after that.
Yeah, I think I remember in your book, you said that when you guys were coming up, you went to a Curtis Blow show.
Yeah.
And you saw Curtis perform like in an all-white suit, and someone threw like a tomato at him or something.
That was the Clash shows that they were playing.
Yeah. And because of that, that's why you guys had the S1Ws on stage.
No.
Nah? Well, I could have sworn you said that in the book.
It's not. Well, if I said that in the book, I was young. I'm always quick to say I was young and out of my goddamn mind there, you know. But I would say that the S1Ws, look, you're on the stage, so you present something with movement. So things had to move. It was Dougie Fresh that encouraged to have the S1Ws move on stage. That was the second show of the Def Jam tour. Before the S1Ws just stand up
they just stood there? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
just stood there. We played the 25 dates with the Beastie Boys on License to Ill in '87. We're going into suburban towns like Worcester and Erie. And, you know, and these guys in the middle of the dick coming up in the Beastie Boys show, since the beginning of the show, these guys with machine guns, they're like, man, we're not gonna fuck around with these black guys. So, I mean, yeah, that was the stage presence.
Yeah.
And yes, they the real deal, because if you look at the Rebel Without a Pause single cover, it's all real guys. Unity Force, which are the S1Ws, were the guys that protected our gigs that we had at Spectrum City, and we had our gigs. So they were the security force. We also had thugs in the neighborhood, the 98 Posse. These are guys who actually were thugs in 98s, and anybody that came out to Long Island, these dudes would just cut off the parkways. Because there's only two ways out of there. It's like, you know, if you came from Queens or Brooklyn out to one of the Spectrum gigs, which brought out a lot of girls and stuff like that, cats would be like, you know, if you fuck up a Spectrum party, man, and we the thugs in this neighborhood, you want to come from somewhere else and fuck up the party where we got our little game going on, and so you want to fuck up our shit, we're going to cut the parkways off. You can't get out of here. It's almost like in New York. I mean, you familiar with Rockaway and Long Beach?
Of course.
You can't get up out of there, man. You can come from Brooklyn and all that. You got to get out of there if you go there. So territories are very important, man. And the S1Ws established a rapport with the 98 Posse. And it was all one big soup bowl and stuff like that. So when we decided to do Public Enemy, we took the whole kit and caboodle from WBAU and also our live gigs. I said the S1s, Flavor Flav, me, Terminator X, and then we're going to do what we do normally and compress it into a show. That's why all the guys that's on the cover of Yo Bro Russ's show, that's pretty much it in its essence.